Afternoon, it's 3 o'clock, Council. Good afternoon and welcome to the public. I'd like to remind you all that this meeting is live on the Council's YouTube channel. Before we move into this afternoon's proceedings, there are a few housekeeping matters that I'd like to bring to members' attention. One, I would like to remind members and officers to stand when they are speaking in the chamber. Two, can I please remind members that other than the proposer of motion, any speeches must be limited to 3 minutes and directed to the item or question under discussion. Please may I remind members, officers, including the press and public that are in attendance today, that all mobile phones must be placed in silent mode and no calls should be made or received in the chamber during the meeting. I would also encourage all members who are asking questions that they direct them through the chair. Agenda item 1 is apologies for absence. I understand that we received apologies from Councillor Plodjai, Councillor Fairless-Aitken, Councillor Towns, Councillor Bridget, Councillor Dunn, Councillor Hill and Councillor Kennedy. Do I have any further? No, it's looking quite full other than that. Councillor Foster.
I've got Councillor Carty, Councillor Purvis and Clark.
Thank you very much. Did you catch all those? Right, thank you. 2, minutes. The next item is the minutes of the meeting of the County Council held on the 14th of June 2023 as circulated and to be confirmed as a true record. Can we confirm these minutes are a true record? Can I have a proposer, please? Councillor Watson, seconded by Councillor Stewart. Is that agreed? Agreed. Thank you. Item 3, disclosures of members' interests. Does any member have any interest to declare that they have not already been declared to the monitoring officer before this meeting? I don't see any hands, thank you. Item 4 is announcements by the business chair, leader or head of paid service. I'm delighted to announce a number of King's Birthday Honours Awards awarded to those connected with Northumberland. The following people were awarded as CBE: Professor Derek Alderson, Chair of Perioperative Care and latterly President of the Royal College of Surgeons of England for services to surgery. The following people were awarded an MBE: Dr. Alice Karen Good, founder Sunflower Sisters for services to Ukrainian refugees. Reverend Fiona Jean Sample, founder and Chief Executive Officer the Oswin Project for services to rehabilitation of offenders. Donna Marie Swan, founder Karma Therapies for services to children with special educational needs and families in North East England. The following people were awarded a British Empire Medal: Vicky Ewan for services to the community in Coquetdale, Morpeth, Northumberland. And finally, it's my sad duty to announce the death of former County Councillor Anne Patterson, who sadly passed away on the 12th of June 2023. Anne Patterson represented the Morpeth South Ward from 1993 to 2001. I'd like to invite the Council to join me in observing a minute's silence in memory of former Councillor Anne Patterson. Thank you, Council. I'd now like to hand over to the leader for announcements from him.
Thank you very much, Chair, and it's very nice to see you all after a summer break, all looking happy and well. some smiling more than others, but it's lovely to see you. Some sitting in slightly different benches, but then that's progress. Very nice to see you all, and I'm sure you will all enjoy this new term just as much as the 40,000 children that we have will enjoy going back to school this week as well. I would like to begin by paying tribute to the school children of Northumberland, to our schools improvement team, to the teachers, and to everyone involved in this building and beyond for helping with education to get to where it is today, because we have now reached pre-pandemic exam result successes. So that means of roughly the 5,000 children in years 11 and 13 that took external examinations have either got their first choice or are very close to getting their second choice, whether that's university or further education, skills training, or so on. It's an incredibly creditable performance. And it's not just results. In terms of Ofsted, we know now that we've come from a position in 2017 of being below national average and in the lower quartile to being above the national average in the upper quartile. 94% of our schools are good or better. That is a tremendous achievement. And I'm very proud of the fact that we are joint second place in the North East for those results. And we are 6% better than the national average. And again, I would congratulate everyone involved in that. It's fantastic. And of course, that's why we are investing in our new schools projects in Amble, in Seaton Valley, and in Berwick, where we are delivering over £100 million worth of work in total to deliver new schools and new opportunities for young people in schools or in post-16 or post-18 education. I need to update you on RRC or RAC concrete issues. We have done a full inspection of our schools and we don't have an issue. We have also, the Chief Executive has also commissioned a review into the other buildings to see if we might have an issue there, but so far nothing has been reported to us. So in terms of Northumberland schools, I'm glad to say that we don't seem to have any problems, and I'm pleased about that, as I'm sure you all are. What I'm less pleased about, of course, is the announcement yesterday that the A1 dualling will not proceed for another 9 months. There is a big but there, though, that the door is still open to this scheme, whereas many, many others across the country have been shelved and ditched completely. So it's up to us to continue to make the case on behalf of the people that we all represent that making changes to this road is essential. This is a road that looks like a road from the 1950s. This is a road that should be like a road that's fit for where we are now. For all the people that use it to go to work, to take kids to school, for our tourists, for our industry, and particularly for those people who have been hurt or killed on those single carriageway sections over the past 20 or 30 years since we've been campaigning for this. For them, especially, we must do everything we can to make this road safer. So I'm disappointed, but I feel that we, as a county council, can make sure that we make the case to the Secretary of State, as we have done and will continue to do so, by knocking on that open door, if necessary, pushing it wide open, and if necessary, even knocking it down if we have to make sure that we get our case heard loud and clear. I think at a time when Northumberland is getting more money, I understand, than at any other time in the County Council's history from the government, it seems only logical for us to be putting some money into that road. And so, given that situation, I think the case is powerful, and we will work cross-party, because I do not want this to become a party political issue. We will work cross-party together to make sure our voice is united in getting the improvements we need for all those people I've mentioned. Internally, we are just finalising our policy conference programme. We will be involving all members, if they wish to come, in discussions around the budget. In our corporate parenting role, and we'll be having a session before council for 10 minutes next council meeting, just on our corporate parenting role, because it's very important that everyone understands this incredible role that we have. And so we'll carry out a policy conference on that following that meeting. We also want to look again at housing, because all of us have got issues within housing, whether it's getting repairs done quickly enough, whether it's having enough social affordable housing, either in the rural areas or in towns, and making sure that we understand the issues that you have to face when you get asked for help from constituents. So a policy conference on housing will take place, and I think that should be useful in making things clear. I'm happy to be able to say how nice it is to have Councillor Veronica Jones back in the Cabinet, and to thank Dave Ferguson, who did a brilliant job when he was part of the Cabinet. Thank you, Dave, for that. Veronica is picking up our inequalities portfolio particularly, and I'm very glad to say, actually, we've just had a report to show that we're actually beginning to make real progress in our priority to tackle inequalities in Northumberland, and I'm really pleased about that. And I know that Veronica will be very assertive in her role in making sure we continue to make that our key priority alongside the other two. And I also finally would like to welcome a new face, which is Graham Binning. He is the new Chief Fire Officer and takes up his post. I think it's important to remember that when we started negotiations with the North East Combined Authority, one of the red lines I had was to make sure that we continue to have our own fire and rescue service within the County Council, because at the time there were considerable discussions around wanting to try and merge different forces and perhaps even have a different way of governing our fire and rescue service. So that was a red line, and that was agreed. So we do and will continue to have our own fire and rescue service as part of the County Council. And I know that Graham will make sure that he leads the fire and rescue service as part of the County Council going forward. I'm really grateful and very impressed for the work that Paul Headley did. He was an exemplary officer, and I know Graham will follow close in his footsteps, and I'm looking forward to working with him. Thank you all.
Thank you for that. Item 5 is public questions. Under our recently reviewed and redrafted constitution, we have agreed to hold public question time session in our chamber. Today we have received no questions from the public. 6 is members' questions. We have 6 questions submitted. I'd like to remind members we have 20 minutes allocated for this session. I'd like us to get through as many questions as possible within the allocated time. I believe we will. So please stick to asking the question, including if you are going to ask a supplementary. Question 1 is from Councillor Daniel Carr to the leader.
Thank you, Chair. I'd like to thank this council for the recent refurbishment of the beach huts in Blythe. They're looking far better now than they were in the past. They've breathed new life into what I consider to be Blythe's finest asset. What I'd like to know, though, is if we're going to see investment from this council into the beach promenade, you'll know that we've seen private investment opposite, where we've now got the likes of Greg's, Salt Rock and Shorelocks, and it's a co-op soon to be opening. But I'd like to know if this council will also invest in our promenade as well, breathe new life into it as well.
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. Blythe Beach is a very important asset for the whole county, and how grateful I am that we haven't introduced car parking charges there, which will encourage and continues to encourage huge amounts of people to visit that area. The beach huts are very important, and as everyone knows, a part of the iconic history of the county, and we have invested in them because it was right to do that. So far as the beach itself is concerned, I'm pleased to be able to announce today that there will be a specific project beginning soon on revitalising the timber work and other parts of the beach area so that it looks fitter for purpose and looks better and more modern. Given the amount of people that visit there and enjoy that, it's only right that we do that. So that will be going ahead. And also in Blythe, we are working very closely with Ridley Park volunteers and also the Isabella Heap Country Park volunteers in bringing improvements to those as well. And this is the kind of thing that we will be doing more when we announce our new environment policy, which we will be doing to link up with our new climate change action plan later this year. This is exactly the kind of work that we need to be doing and want to continue to do. I would just finally say that we have invested, and the government invested, huge amounts of money in Blythe. Our role is to make the beach area much better in terms of attractiveness, and we will do that. And linked to that, of course, there is a library nearby, and we've already begun the work on the exterior of that library, I believe, and we are working with other groups to get that library open. So it will be a really close and attractive and useful addition to that particular part of the town.
Supplementary, Councillor Carr.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to say thank you to Councillor Sanderson for that answer, and I look forward to any progress made on the beach promenade. Thank you.
Right. Question 2 was going to be from Councillor Hill, who isn't here, so we'll provide her with a written response. We'll go to question 3, which is from Councillor Christine Taylor to the leader. I called you at just the wrong time, haven't I?
Are you in? It's all right.
You may begin.
Thank you. With the ongoing development of Bedlington's town centre, could you please outline NCC's plans for the next phase once the 4 shops and 6 apartments are complete? Thank you.
Leader.
Yeah, thank you very much, Councillor Taylor. I know how passionate you are about Bedlington and the other Bedlington councillors as well, who have continued to make their case. I can tell you that the remaining sites are being marketed right now, and I think there are 3 vacant development sites in that category. We are also working very closely, and it's not been easy, as you well know, to come forward with a place plan for the town, but we are working on that and getting to a position where we are almost ready to press the button on that, and I think there's something coming to the council fairly soon on that. We're also working very closely with Advanced Northumberland to make the most of the assets there and to see what we can actually invest in terms of new investments. And of course, the opening of the train line in Bedlington and the new station will definitely make a difference to the town. We've secured government levelling up funds to provide the new and upgraded active travel infrastructure in Bedlington, and that will enhance the east to west link in the town. And this scheme will connect the western extent of Bedlington, the key residential and employment areas, with the new proposed Northumberland Line train station. And this also will include other particular facets, and the estimated cost of this scheme is 7.7 million. And there are also several capital investment schemes in development within the Council's Parks Enhancement Programme. And these include improvements to the cafe, improvements to the seating area at the country park, and a boulder thingy, climbing thing.
A boulder course.
A boulder
Course.
A boulder court. Okay, and they're very good. I recommend you all try those. So that's going to be a very good way of livening up and reinvesting and reinvigorating the really important country park there. And also, as you know, we've just agreed to a QE2 memorial rose garden in Bedlington, which will have some lovely things like decorated framework and archways that will enhance the area. So we are committed to Bedlington. I'm sorry more hasn't happened over the last 10, 15 years, but we are really concentrating as hard as we can on bringing forward projects that will enhance the town. We are listening. You know that I meet you regularly, and we will continue to help as much as we can.
Supplementary, Councillor Taylor.
Yes, please. Thank you for that, Leader. I do appreciate it, and I know what's going on behind the scenes because myself and the other councillors are meeting with you quite regular, as you said. What you've talked about is the cycle track, the country park, and you mentioned Borderlands. I think what we need to do is we need to get the information out to the public about what's going on in Borderlands. We need to be a lot more transparent about it and let people have the information. People know what's going on. We all know what's going on, but we need to get it out there. Thank you.
Yes, so I will make this probably rather rash suggestion, But I'm happy, well, I'm not happy. I will come and be bashed up if necessary to a public meeting in Bedlington because that's my job. I can bring Richard and Wojciech along as well as officers. But I'm happy to do that, actually. So if that's something that will help, I'm more than happy to come to a public meeting in Bedlington and happy to do that in the next month or two.
Move on. Thank you. I'll move on to question 4, which is Councillor Humphrey to Councillor Stewart.
Thank you, Chair. On Newsham Farm Estate, we have 2 blocks of privately owned flats, locally known as Holy Flats. For 10 years or so, probably longer, it's been a hub of antisocial behaviour causing disturbance, distress and annoyance to the residents who live in the area of all times of day and night. Various efforts have been made to stop this behaviour, which does reduce and then returns to a higher level once the action has been taken. Would Councillor Stewart assure me that a sustained effort would be put in to stop the perpetrators of the nuisance and take the landlords to task who turn a blind eye to the behaviour being carried out in their properties?
I'll turn around and face you there. Thank you very much for your question. This is something which comes across in most communities in Northumberland and elsewhere in the country. So the issue is known to the community safety team within the County Council. Currently, they haven't received a high level of complaints from residents on this, though. We understand the police do receive a higher level of complaints than the council do. This is commonplace everywhere, and I've had recent meetings with the police and others, and we need to make sure that the public do report them appropriately. The team is currently dealing with individual issues as they arise in partnership with other agencies using the powers available. These include the power to close individual flats should the evidence support such actions. At present, the team have 1 open case. Broader powers do exist, though these powers need clear data and evidence to support the use. Given the concerns you've highlighted, I'm arranging a multi-agency meeting to review the current situation and report back to you as soon as possible.
Supplementary, Councillor Humphrey.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Would Councillor Stewart agree to come to Newsham and meet me, and I'll take him to gladly show him the flats and the issues that's happening, and also some other issues that of antisocial behaviour in Newsham?
Absolutely delighted to come to your fine town. Tomorrow I'm actually in Blyth. I'll be announcing some funding for antisocial behaviour combating efforts in that area, which is government money, which the community are aware of, but I'll be detailing that. Also make you aware that the Safe in Northumberland Partnership is a high-level strategic multi-agency approach to antisocial behaviour and serious crime in the county, and we're now revamping that whole thing and make it for the future. Further, you mentioned about the social housing providers not taking positive action. I'm running a campaign at the moment for the largest social housing providers, so they don't just complain that they can't do anything, they actually get off the backsides and do something. And there will be closure notices which are not currently allowed to do. So I'll be looking to change the legislation in relation to that.
Thank you for that, Councillor Stewart. Just a reminder to address the chamber through the chair. It will also mean you'll get a better view on YouTube to the viewers at home than the back of your head. But, however...
I'm not one for publicity.
I don't even need to say anything there, do I? Question 5 is from Councillor Anna Watson to Councillor Riddle.
Thank you, Chair. Now we know there's going to be lots of disruption around Blyth with the Northumberland Line and the Relief Road surveys. Can Councillor Riddle ensure timely information is shared with members before the public, and can we make sure all options are explored to reduce the disruption, including the opening of the Old Laverick Hall Road with a reduced speed limit and a full assessment of timescales for emergency vehicles to the affected areas?
Councillor Riddle.
Thank you, Councillor Watson. I'm sure members will agree it's great to see that the Northumberland Line is being delivered on the ground and that progress on the preparations for the Blyth Relief Road are in progress. These projects will ultimately benefit thousands of people, from local residents in Blyth to those who travel and work and visit the town. They are an investment for the current and future generations. Of course, they will require complex construction works, which inevitably will involve and affect the highway network in the short term. The Northumberland Line project requires the construction of 2 new roundabouts on the existing A1061 South Newsham Road, which will connect the new bridge over the railway line, which will replace the old level crossing. Consideration of traffic management arrangements for these works are currently ongoing, including whether some elements of the work can best be achieved through the use of temporary traffic lights or through the use of a one-way system. Given the location of the works, I can assure you officers are exploring all options to minimise disruption. Following further discussions with utility companies and contractors about all these options, we will update members and the public about any proposed traffic management in advance of any works. On your suggestion about the opening of the old Laverick Hall Road bus-only route to all traffic during the works, this will be considered. However, the use of the bus link by traffic before the camera enforcement was installed caused real road safety concerns for residents, and this led to a major campaign to improve its enforcement as a bus-only lane. So increased road safety risks would need to be carefully considered. I can tell you that I am aware that the order that's been issued has caused lots of concern because it's for a very long period. But what I will say is that that is because it's a legal document, and anything that we may want to implement, including the possibility of a one-way system, etc., has to be included in that order in the first place. Otherwise, we can't even do it if we wanted to. So rest assured, it won't be closed for 16 months. You know, it's just the legality of doing it in a one-er, and that's the way it's got to be, I'm afraid.
Supplementary, Councillor Watson.
Yeah, I acknowledge that, you know, that did cause distress to residents because of the way it was shared, and I appreciate it wasn't supposed to come out that way and it didn't have the context behind. What I would like to ask, though, is that, yes, whilst I welcome the Northumberland Line coming and everything that's coming forward in Blythe, is we still have a cost of living crisis at the moment. And when those one-way systems are potentially put in place, and even with overnight closures, there are some people in Blythe who are affected more than others. So whilst I haven't had a chance to look at the report that Councillor Sanderson mentioned, the inequalities report, I would like to ask that this is really looked at for all road closures through an inequalities lens for those people who rely on bus services, and costs of fuel when the diversions are sometimes 8 miles plus are really considered. Thank you.
Well, thank you for that. What I will say is that, you know, everything that we do now has to be looked at through the inequalities lens. So, yes, that will be taken into account. But, you know, there's lots of options. We don't know where we're going at the moment with it. So we will update the local members when we know where we are. Thank you.
Question 6 is Councillor Caroline Ball to Councillor Gordon Stewart. Councillor Ball.
Thank you, Chair. Motorbikes, e-bikes, e-scooters disorder is a complaint many councillors have in their inboxes on a weekly basis. What is the plan to tackle the issue many residents are facing? Thank you.
Councillor Stewart.
Councillor Ball, I will turn my back on you, unfortunately. Thank you, Councillor Ball, for highlighting this, something which is a challenge across the whole of Northumberland. Tackling the issue is not straightforward. The police have the powers to seize and uplift bikes. They are not permitted to pursue bikes and scooters. Though there have been some successes, the police used drones to carry out an operation where the number of bike scooters was seized in the north of the county. This can be considered across Northumberland by each neighbourhood policing team. Other measures which are being explored, including using plainclothes police officers and working with other services within the council to see how we can use design to discourage use of bikes or naturally slow them down, making it possible for the police to seize vehicles. Identifying these bikes is always going to be a problem, but it is the important thing to do. Therefore, Crime Stoppers are currently launching a campaign around anonymous reporting in the Hurst area of Ashington, where this activity is most prevalent. Publicity around the launch will actively encourage the reporting of bike disorder.
Supplementary, Councillor Ball.
Just to clarify, it wasn't what the police response was, it wasn't what Northumberland County Council's response is, because I do feel we have a role within this, whether it be education, licensing, or just basically getting out there and letting people know how to report this. So I do really feel that we need to step up as a council. This isn't just a policing issue, this is a Northumberland County Council issue. And just basically on that, what are we going to do? Is because it seems like it's like we are passing the buck to the police here, and we do have a responsibility. So what are Northumberland County Council going to do, our community safety team, and how are we going to tackle this issue for the residents of Northumberland? Because it is scary. There's people that are petrified to leave the house, to go shopping in our town centres. And when we've got shopkeepers who are already struggling, this is an issue that we need to tackle as a county council. Thank you.
Councillor Stewart.
Yeah, I don't disagree. That is a major issue in virtually all towns within the county and elsewhere. What we are doing is working closely with the police. I referred to the Safe in Northumberland Partnership, and I'll raise this at a forthcoming meeting. The police do attend there with agencies such as the health services, and if it needs be, we'll arrange a special presentation on that. So it is a multi-agency approach. I think factors such as this in the communities are something which are best dealt with by the communities as well. We lack information at the moment. We've got to reassure the public that the information they provide is confidential.
Thank you, members. We got that done just about in 20 minutes, so thank you all. Item 7, we now move to item 7 on the agenda, which is a Cabinet Member report from the Cabinet Member for improving our roads and highways. These reports are a relatively new thing, with the leader bringing his report in June. These reports from each of the Council's Cabinet members provide a valuable opportunity for Council to consider and comment on the work of each portfolio. The aim is to strengthen the link and accountability between key decisions taken by the Cabinet and achievement of the 3 priorities of the Council as set out in the corporate plan. This report is for noting only, and I'd like to invite Councillor Riddle to present this report. I will be limiting questions to 10 minutes for the item, with 1 question per member on the report. So without further ado, I'll pass over to Councillor Riddle.
Thank you, Chair. As you've said, this is my portfolio report on this work of the past year. And just to set things in context, as you know, the highway team, we use an asset management approach for all the maintenance work on all the roads, cycleways, bridges and street lighting throughout the county. In the past, during this past year, we've all, we're immune to inflation just like you are. So we've had considerable inflation pressures, but we have tried to innovate and secure value for money as much as at all possible. And I'm sure we've done that we've achieved very well, I think. We've continued investing in the highway network, as you members all know, with the local transport plan, the 23.4 million. And, we've had some challenges as well with a landslip at Todstead, etc., and all of that to contend with. Much of that investment is steered, I suppose, by what we call the TAMP, the Transport Asset Management Plan, and that has been refreshed during this last year. We've also implemented some new back office systems. Alloy is a back office system which uses artificial intelligence, and we are currently about to implement Appyway, which is a map-based system which will help with the issuing of traffic regulation orders and on-street parking regulations. On top of the LTP money, as you know, we've invested on top of what Glenn put in when he was portfolio holder, the 15 million he put into additional spending on roads. We put an extra 2.225 million into the capital maintenance of U&C roads and footways from this county council's funds. And then just recently we got a further almost £4 million from government, which came in March, which we've used it was specifically for potholes and the fact that government recognised that it was a national issue. With regard to our LTP programme, just to update you on what's happened recently, we've just almost completed the £4.3 million resurfacing programme, which is this year covered 45 miles of our network. But again, just to put things in context, since we took over the administration, and despite the fact that we had the beast from the east and Storm Arwen, the number of actionable highway defects is reduced by nearly 40%. So that's testimony to the extra money, I think, that we put in and the work of our good staff. So I'm very pleased to report that. You know, we've also invested heavily in equipment. The Pothole Pro, JCB Pothole Pro, that's used mainly in the southeast. And then we've embarked on this, I would call it a trial, first cut out and more permanent repair thing, which is going to cost almost £500,000. This is additional work. It's not work that's being substituted. This is additional work in the north and the west. That's a trial that we are busy just about to evaluate. On top of that, you know, this last year we saw the introduction of 9 new gritters and the 4 gully suckers as well. So, you know, they have vastly improved our fleet. We've also recently had the launch of the Fix My Street app, which I think is going very well. We've had approximately 10,000 reports in on that. Not all potholes, I will add. You know, it's anything from hedges to missed bins to anything really, but it is something that at least the people that report it get a message back on a weekly basis of what's happening. So I think that is a great improvement. I think I must mention the work that's been done on the Union Chain Bridge, you know, the 202-year-old Union Chain Bridge at Berwick, which is the oldest vehicle suspension bridge in the world. We got approximately 50% of the funding from that externally, much of it from the Heritage Lottery Fund, but it is a very iconic and a great structure. I'm very proud that that has been completed. You know, we've invested heavily in car parking as well, because we believe that car parking supports one of our 3 priorities. And, you know, we've completed Goose Hill in Morpeth, Aylmouth Road in Hexham, Turner Street in Amwell, and the extension to the Quayside Park in Berwick. We've also trialled a motorhome parking in Bamborough, Amble and Beadnell, and I can tell you the results of that are very positive, and the user feedback was very good as well. So that is something that I'm looking at to take forward. I can't have this report without saying something about cycling and walking, because that also falls within my portfolio. And the big Northumberland Gear Change has promoted community walking, cycling and cycle repair. And, you know, got to mention things like Stannington School. They won an award, and I think they came second nationally. So, you know, very, very good. We're looking at things like the highway verge cutting, and you know, the request that some parishes want certain verges left and things. And again, this fits in with our environmental credentials. The toilet refurbishment programme, I think that's a massive programme, and the fact that you know, most councils are closing public conveniences. We've actually invested in public conveniences. We've reopened one public convenience in Hexham. We've done refurbishment in Sea Houses, Holy Island, and we're on with Castlegate in Berwick. If Councillor Hill had been here, I'm sure she would have been very pleased about that. We've also done the shambles in Alnwick and Wooler bus station. So I think, you know, we are investing a lot, and I think the fact that we're investing in our roads, the evidence there in the figures is there to see. You know, putting money into it is actually reducing the number of potholes. And I've actually had someone staying in our holiday cottage this last week who is an avid cyclist from West Yorkshire, and he didn't know I had anything to do with roads, and he was just talking to me. He says, "Your roads are fantastic around here. Not nearly as many potholes as in Yorkshire." So I'm very pleased about that as well.
Okay, right.
Sorry, can I just finish by saying, you know, a big, big thank you to all of our staff, because it's the staff that do the work and maintain our roads. So thank you to them.
Right. I'm going to open 10 minutes of questions. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to group leaders first, questions. But can we get to questions straight away, because we've got 10 minutes. And I've already had 3 hands from non-leaders, 5 hands from non-leaders, 6, 7. So hence, can we get straight to the questions, please? And the first one on the report from Councillor Dickinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's only taken us 40 minutes to get past the staged guff. So, in terms of this report, I very much welcome it, and I'd just like to question whether some of these portfolio holders' reports can have a little bit more of the challenges, Councillor Riddle, that these services have faced. You referenced some of them, but none of them were included. So, if you're not watching this, the public won't know, because I think the staff have done a tremendous job with limited resource to deliver what they have, and I hope you gave that person a discount on your holiday home for saying that about your roads. And the second thing is, Councillor Sanderson referred earlier to the importance of the A1, and this department has previously done an economic impact assessment on the opening of the dual corridor to Scotland. And I wonder, because it was 8 years ago, whether that type of work needs to be refreshed and whether the council can satisfactorily say that they are doing enough to make this happen, because Glenn's saying he's pushing against an open door, but clearly the open door's been closed for the 5th time. This is the 5th stall on this project.
Right. A reminder, it's questions about the report, but can we go to...
I'll take the question that you've put. Well, it wasn't a question, it was a statement. As the Chair said, these questions are around the report. The A1 is not mentioned in the report, therefore it is not a question that is relevant. However, I've already explained how this council will work together to make sure that we present a very, very formidable update and campaign to continue all the work that everybody's done for so long, as I've already said, to encourage the Department of Transport to spend the same amount of money as other government departments have done in Northumberland, which to date seems to be the highest amount of government funding ever to have been placed in Northumberland County Council's gift to spend for our residents. So I'm not going to make this a political point. I hope you don't. I hope very much we can all work together to take the campaign for the A1 forward, and that we will reach success when we continue to push at that open door to see that work begin next year.
Right. Councillor Kennedy.
Chairman, can I just ask, are my questions going to be answered by the portfolio holder? I asked a range of questions and the leaders just made a statement.
Well, to be honest, Councillor Dickinson, you was asked to ask one question. So you've got a response there. You went away from the report, if we're going to be honest about stuff. We're now eating into more time, so I'm going to carry on. No, excuse me, there was an answer. There was an answer provided, Councillor Dickinson. We're wasting more time of more members. So, Councillor Kennedy.
Thank you. Right. Well, I'm pleased the A1 is being brought up, because obviously that's the thing that everybody's talking about. And you can roll your eyes and go like, oh, let's forget because it's not...
Is there going to be a question, Councillor Kennedy?
Yes, there is going to be a question. So let's get this straight. That A1 needs to feature in this report as to what the strategic vision is for this county. You know, there's some great stuff in here, and I thank John, and I've spoken with John many times on certain matters on this, and there's some really, really good things in here. So I'm really, really pleased about that. So there's no kicking anybody in here. This is about us as Northumberland suffering at the expense of a lack of decision making in. My question is, can we have the A1 to feature in a local transport plan, because it is the key artery that links the whole of the county together. So I do think it needs to be part of this, and I think, you know, I'm supporting what Councillor Dickinson just said, is that it needs to have some influence in here, as that the portfolio for improving the roads and highways. I think I've got your
question was about whether it be in the local strategic plan.
Yes.
So, Councillor, either the leader or Councillor...
I'll take this. Thank you. No, it can't be, clearly, because you ought to know, because you've been a councillor for a while, that the A1 is not a local authority looked after road. So the local transport plan is money that we get for spending on the roads, footpaths and other things in the county. So what is our role as a county council? And the answer is to remain positive, to work together, to consider that we are getting more money coming into Northumberland than at any other time, I'm told, in the county council's history, and to explain that this should be also spread across the A1 as well, Councillor Kennedy. So I fully appreciate why we're getting off the subject, but please, there is so much work represented in this report that you haven't asked about. So much for us all to be proud about that you're not accepting. Please ask the portfolio holder about the report. Don't ask for... Just stick to those roads that are mentioned in the report. The A1 is not mentioned in the report. We all share the concern. We're all exactly on the same page. But I will not allow this to become a party political issue that we banter across. So there we are. Thank you so much.
Councillor, it's Councillor Reid, isn't it? Yes, Councillor Reid.
Would the portfolio holder please, next time we have one of these reports, include the challenges that the department and the portfolio that's a good word, face, rather than just this kind of puff piece about how well you're doing when we all know that it's actually going backwards?
Well, Councillor Reid, as you know, I'm trying to make the report interesting. Anything that is normally a challenge that we have to have a council decision on comes to you anyway through the forum. You've got all year to challenge us through scrutiny committees, communities in place, etc. This is supposed to be, in my opinion, this is supposed to be telling us what we have achieved during the year, not things that we haven't achieved. I'm very proud of the report.
Right. Councillor Morford has indicated he doesn't wish to ask a question, so what I will do is I will go to the first hand I saw, which was Councillor Mark Swinburne.
Thank you, Chair. So, looking at the report written, which is on information over the past year in the county, one of the things I want to pick out is with regards to the Fix My Street, which we brought in, which the county is linked up to. I think this is a massive step forward. I appreciate it doesn't cover everything in detail. We would really like to, but it does give a direct link and somewhere where both members and residents can go to report things. And I appreciate that not everybody has internet access, so not everyone can use it. And also speaking to senior officers, I know there's been some teething problems which we're working through. But what I want to ask is, at some point after our sort of honeymoon period, can we have some data, some outputs as to what the target for turnaround is and what our achievements are? That's what I'd like to see come from the Fix My Street, please. Thank you.
Councillor Riddle.
Thank you, Councillor Swinburne. Yes, I'm sure you can. You're right, we have had one or two teething problems with it. We've worked through them. I think that the reporting back is getting much better. People should be getting weekly reports. But initially it created a huge spike because, great new app. And there was, I think we've had, as I said, 10,000 or over 10,000 reports in quite a short period. So, you appreciate that it takes some time to work through them. I think things will settle and, it will be a very good thing, I think, to come to scrutiny and, let's do it that way.
Councillor Julie Foster.
Was mentioned in the report, you'll be happy to hear. Always, but obviously for climate change, lots of benefits there. Lots of funding coming into towns for cycleways, brilliant. Stakeford's not a town, we don't get the funding. We don't have any cycleways in Stakeford. I know we've had meetings with the leader with regards to having connectivity to Stakeford. But my question, I will get to it, is because a lot of the paths have the line down with the cycle bit, the pedestrian bit, we are finding a lot of cyclists are now believing they can cycle on the path. This is leading to impacts with pedestrians, and it's also leading to a lot of nasty comments between cyclists and pedestrians. And there is a community safety aspect to it, and we do have that problem in Stakeford. There are no doubts about it. Can I ask what is going to be done to make cyclists aware that they can't ride on every single path, and how we're going to tackle that to keep our residents, our pedestrians, safe on our footpaths, please?
Right.
Thank you.
I will let Councillor Riddle answer that, and that's our 10 minutes. So this is, afraid, the final question.
Thank you for that question. And, you know, I think it's fair to say that we will have to put a little bit more emphasis on our cycleways and look at it for the next budget round. I think that we probably need to refresh quite a bit of the marking on some of the cycleways throughout the county, which will be a big job, and we'll have to do it in phases. As far as educating the cyclists, I don't think we want to put signs up everywhere. You know, we need to educate people through the cycling and walking board and through initiatives rather than sticking signs up everywhere.
Thank you, Council. We move on to item 8 on the agenda, which is a report from the Chair of the Corporate Services and Economic Growth Overview and Scrutiny Committee, Councillor David Bourne. Similar to the previous Cabinet Member annual report, the reports from chairs of scrutiny committees are a good opportunity for Council to be updated on and consider the important work taken forward across all our scrutiny committees. I'd like to invite Councillor Bourne to present this report. I will again be limiting questions to 10 minutes for this item, with 1 question per member. Councillor Bourne.
Thank you, Chair. Well, this is the new format, how scrutiny is going back to full council. We used to get the minutes, but this is part of the change that we introduced as part of the change to our constitution. So regularly we're going to be bringing reports as scrutiny chairs to you on what we've been doing and what we intend to do, just to keep you updated. So the 3 big issues that we looked at, firstly was 1, the work programme itself, how we're going to structure that, how we're going to get work, and how we're going to, what are we going to look at. So in our June meeting, I asked Jan and Willis and Simon Nielsen to come up with the big things that are going to emerge over the next 6 months that could be key issues, so that we can have a look at them. And what came out of that, the 3 headline issues were regeneration. Big issue about that across the county. As we're all aware, there's issues with the British Fault site, which we can't discuss because a lot of it's commercial, but when we can discuss it, we will, and we're keeping a watching brief on that, and we're inviting key people to come in and speak to us when they can to give updates on that very sensitive site. We also looked at BEST, which is the council's new way of providing information and collating information and giving it to us, and we wanted updates on that, and the key thing we wanted from that was key performance indicators. We want to know what's going on, and we need to measure it against things, and hopefully we'll start getting reports in that format. We looked at the capital programme. We looked at some of the issues, delays, inflation, costs on some of those projects, and we're going to keep on looking at some of those projects to make sure that they are going through. Additionally, we invited some work to look at the Northumberland Lottery. We get the council's workforce annual update, and quite key, we now get regular updates from Advanced Northumberland, both sort of what they're doing and also their financial updates, so we can actually scrutinise them, which is a very important part of our role. And we do have a very good relationship now and able to do that, and we are getting senior people from Advanced coming to our meetings and answering questions of committee members. So that's the first thing. The second thing we looked at is what we often look at is financial performance of the council. Big issue we're looking at the moment we want to look at further is vacancies. How are they managed? How do they affect in the budget? how much of the budget savings are vacancies, are they going to be filled, how that will be worked through. We also looked at Parks and Green Spaces programme, look at some of the issues with some sites that maybe aren't going forward as quickly as they should be, and one particular project which we asked more information on. And finally, third thing, we looked at the Council's debt recovery position. How we recover debt, how we compare with other authorities with debt, whether our debt's going up, whether our debt's going down. And I think we got some very good information on that. There are issues caused by universal credit transfer, still issues caused by the pandemic, but things are definitely improving on that, and we look at that every 6 months. So that's basically an overview of what we've been doing and what we're planning to do. However, it's your opportunity to ask questions, and if there is anything that you think should be looked at, particularly that we haven't, and that falls within our purview, then please raise it either now in the meeting or email me later, and we can consider putting it on the work programme. But thank you very much.
Before I start the questions, I'm going to ask group leaders, do you want me to go to group leaders or do you want me to go to backbenchers? We'll go for group leaders then. Okay, I've indicated I'll keep to the precedent I have on that then. Councillor Dickinson.
It's just one question too.
Yes, it is, yes.
Oh, right, so many. Right, okay. In that case, Councillor Bourne, given the current timetable for this committee and the challenges on the horizon for this council with finance, etc., do you think they're enough? Because they don't seem to meet very frequent. I didn't know if you felt you might need to do more as we supposedly engage with the rest of the membership on budget stuff. And I just wondered what your thoughts were.
Well, thank you, Councillor Dickinson. Obviously, we do have a specific budget meeting, which everybody comes to part of the budget. But in general financial performance, we get regular reports. We can't report every month because the figures would be meaningless. We get the debt report, for example, every 6 months. We do pretty regularly, and we do call additional meetings if we need to, if things are on the agenda. And if workflow picks up, and I discuss that with our scrutiny coordinator, I'm very happy to have additional meetings if required.
Councillor Kennedy.
Yeah, thank you. It was just about the debt recovery. Obviously, welcome the words, but there's no detail. Thank you. For those who didn't hear that, yeah, welcome the debt recovery words here, but there's no sort of explanation or detail as to go, well, how deep, wide and broad this problem is, because there's no figures in here, which really mean this is just a set of words without any strategy, any depth of like how this problem was. I mean, I was listening to the news the other day and it mentioned how HMRC, who I actually work for, is working with the local authorities at the COVID recovery of those debts that may not be appropriate. And those figures that were posted in the news were something like only 2% has been recovered. So it sounds as though local authorities nationally may have a bit of an issue here. Now, I certainly would like to see something in here which has actually explained this to us, because at the moment this doesn't tell us anything. We do not know as a council what the depth of this problem is. And I think it would be much more valuable for this council to be informed of going like how deep and how many people we're talking about, how much money we're talking about here, so we can really understand, because this is all about setting the budget for the following years by understanding your debt position.
Councillor Bourne.
Okay, well first, just to catch up, thanks for the question. One is, your description is a problem. This is not necessarily a problem. This is a report on how we recover our debts, how everybody recovers their debts. Actually, the benchmarking and reports we received show that we're pretty good at doing it, actually. It's improving. It's benchmarked with other local authorities in the area, and we're doing a pretty good job. So I wouldn't say it was a problem, per se. There is all the detail in the figures, which are available. They're on the website. The detailed report came to our committee. I mean, I'm sure you really don't want me to come and sit the real numbers out at these meetings, but If you want the figures, they are available and they can be provided.
Councillor Reid?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. I was just wondering if the chair of the committee could respond to whatever recommendations he makes to the administration, they never take any notice of. So I was just wondering how concerned you were that actually this part of the scrutiny process, as far as the administration is concerned, is pointless.
Councillor Bourne?
Well, actually, you've hit it on the head. That is what was the problem with the scrutiny before, which is why this administration has led a change of the constitution to change the way scrutiny operates. Because you're right, before there was too many pre-scrutiny reports coming to scrutiny the 2 days before Cabinet. We hadn't had, nothing was really going to change. It was all, we were just looking at it, making a few minor amendments or suggestions, which sometimes, right, were ignored. Here, the point is we are getting on the ground floor, we're seeing the issues earlier, we're helping to frame the policy and the reports before the reports to Cabinet are finalised. So that's the change that we're actually trying to bring in. So that's the pre-scrutiny issue, which you mentioned. But just to add, obviously, part of scrutiny is post-scrutiny. We look back at decisions that have been made and have they worked. And that's what we want to be doing. So yes, the bad old days are gone, Councillor Reid. We've had...
Nothing from Councillor Morford. So the first hand I saw was from Councillor Dale, who didn't get one on the last go, so I'm giving you a go on this one. Councillor Dale.
Thank you very much. Can I just say thank you for the report, and it's very informative. However, I do think that you need further work needs to be done on the vacancies. We've got a lot of services that are not being met, at least by the residents of Northumberland who are complaining about some of the services and the provision is not good. In particular, could I ask you that you look at the council tax department? I've got a horrendous document which I was going to talk to Jan about, which I'm not going to discuss here, but it really is, it's very, very bad news. But also, as far as the workload of the service, there's not enough people, and we're once again down to this fact that you do not have enough people delivering the services. But this is a very important issue because it's become a legal matter. So can I ask you, I'll speak to you later, but I can ask you, and I want to speak to Jan Willis about it, because she needs to understand what is going on. I don't like the emails I've had, and it is all, there's a whole audit route of it, but there is performance issues within the financial services.
Councillor Bourne.
Thank you, Councillor Dale. Yes, we are continuing our work on vacancies and other staffing issues. We do get regular reports on that. You indicate that there's a specific issue that you feel is happening in revenue and benefits and you want to speak to Jan about. But if you're not satisfied with that and you would like it to come to scrutiny, then please let me know. We can... Thank you.
Councillor Wallace.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, I was concerned as a member of that committee that Councillor Bourne said, and I understand commercial confidentiality, so I'll be very careful how I phrase my question, that reports on such sites as British Vault will come back to the committee. I actually raised this in June. The next meeting for scrutiny is September 25th. The next one after that is November. It's 3 years ago when British Vault put an application in to build that site at Camas. It's 3 years ago. Everybody who wanted to take the credit said 8,000 jobs would be coming to that area. The only way I find out anything, Chairman, because I asked this question at that meeting, and I was told a report would come back. My question's very simple. When I'm asked by a resident of the Sleekburn area who's looking for a job, when can I expect to get an answer to tell them when work will be coming to that site? Thank you.
Councillor Bourne.
Thank you, Councillor Wallace. I think we all share your concerns and frustration about what's happening there. But as you pointed out very sagely at the start of your comments, there's not a lot we can say in a public forum because things are going on. The answer to the question is when? I'd love to know when. It's not within my power to say that. I don't think it's in the power of this authority to say that. It's in the power of other parties who are making commercial decisions. And it is frustrating that we can't answer residents because at this point, there's nothing that we can tell them. But rest assured, as soon as there is something, you know, I've got assurances from the administration that they will come to the committee and they will ask the questions about it. But yes, I share your concerns. Thank you.
Councillor Vilcek.
Thanks, Chair. I just want to ask why £250,000's not been spent in the Parks and Green Spaces programme. As ward member for Bedlington East, I'm being asked by officers to provide hundreds and thousands for missing play park equipment, bread and butter issues like replacement swings, things that the council should be covering. I've also got a deteriorating country park as well sat in my ward, which has various issues. So why on earth is £250,000 being sat untouched?
Councillor Bourne, if you can answer. I'm not sure.
Well, the bits about sort of the wider things about parks and things, I think it's for more communities in place than my portfolio. As far as the finance is concerned, I think that particular issue was discussed and there were delays by physical things, contractors, issues. It's not a case of money just sat in a separate account. There was a budget for doing something and it will progress when it's ready. The problem was, for various, I think it was brought to the committee, various reasons, it hasn't progressed as yet, and we are chasing it up and we'll want a further report on it. But as far as sort of saying there's a pot of money just sat there doing nothing, it doesn't quite work that way. Thanks.
I'm afraid we're at 10 minutes there. So,
Go on, bend the rules.
no, I'm not bending rules for anyone in any sense of this. So thank you very much, members, for that. I know this is a new way of doing things, so I thank you all for your patience on that. I'll go to item 9. We move to item 9 on the agenda, which is a report of the Director of Law and Corporate Governance and Monitoring Officer regarding political proportionality. The report is before you and I believe is self-explanatory. Can I have a little order in the chamber? There's a lot of chatter going on. Thank you. However, before I ask members to approve the report, I can confirm the Deputy Monitoring Officer is happy to answer questions on the report if there are matters that require clarification. Are there any questions of the Deputy Monitoring Officer? No. Can I have a proposer then for the report? Councillor Wearmouth, President, and Councillor Reid has caught my ear. I might get you next time, Councillor Kiddy. Any debates on that? Councillor Kennedy.
Yeah, thank you. We'd just like to welcome Councillor Mary Murphy into the fold that is the independent group, which is growing like topsy. So welcome Councillor Mary Murphy into the independents. We used to be the Magnificent Seven. Now we're great. So that's fantastic. So I'm really pleased about that. Just to inform and to work with leaders of the council. I wanted to get this report through first of all, so obviously to welcome Councillor Murphy into our group. I will then work with group leaders because we will have an internal conversation about maybe the movement of individuals of the independent group into certain positions and maybe agree that with the leaders as we have done in the past, if that's okay. Glenn?
Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you for that. Any more debate? I don't think there probably isn't. Is there? No. Is that agreed? Yeah. Agreed. Thank you. Move on to item 10 on the agenda, which is a report of the Director of Law and Corporate Governance and Monitoring Officer establishing the Right of Way Committee and other matters. The report is before you and I believe is self-explanatory. However, before I ask members to approve the report, I can confirm that the Deputy Monitoring Officer is happy to answer questions on the report if there are matters that require clarification. Are there any questions of the Deputy Monitoring Officer? Councillor Dale.
Thank you. Just to mention, and I'm a little bit sort of, just for clarity really, I'm a member of the Inequalities Working Group, and the last meeting we had was in January this year, and the minutes attached to that is where we actually, in the December, we actually had the election of the chair, who was Mark Ferguson, and also we had the election of the vice chair, who was Rebecca Wilczek, Councillor Wilczek. So there was one from each party. So I just wondered, in the report, you've got Councillor Veronica Jones as Vice Chair of the Inequalities Working Group, but she's meant to be Chairman of the Inequalities Working Group and not the Vice Chair. There seems to be a little bit of a... and I just wanted to clarify that.
Just bear us a second.
Sorry?
Right. It's been confirmed by me that it should be Chair Veronica Jones. Have I relayed that message correctly?
Okay, so and Councillor Wilczek is still the Vice Chair?
Yes.
That was agreed. I'm trying to get the clarification because it was
I believe so. I believe that's probably linked to the changing of cabinet members, how that came about. And it probably hasn't been reflected in the report, but you're probably right that it should be reflected in the report.
That's fine. Thank you very much.
Any further questions? No, thank you. Do I have... Oh, sorry. Do I have a proposer, then, with that change? Is that Councillor Bourne? Are you proposing it with the change that has been outlined by Councillor Dale? Would someone like to second that? Perhaps Councillor Dale, would you second that?
I'll second.
Given you noticed it, thank you. Okay, given the proposer, seconder, any debate on that? I didn't think so. Can that be agreed? Thank you very much. Item 11, we now move on to item 11 on the agenda, which is a report of the Director of Law and Corporate Governance and Monitoring Officer introducing the report of the Independent Remuneration Panel. The report is before you and I believe is self-explanatory. However, before I ask members to approve the report, I can confirm that the Deputy Monitoring Officer is once again happy to answer any questions on the report if there are matters that require clarification. Are there any questions for the Deputy Monitoring Officer? Councillor Morford.
Thank you. So the Green Group's happy to agree the recommendations, but we've noticed that recommendation 10 is a repeat of recommendation 1.1 and recommendation 11 is a repeat of recommendation 3. So I'm just wondering if perhaps we ought to remove the surplus recommendations before we agree them.
Passed.
Thank you, Chair. The recommendations are the recommendations of the Independent Remuneration Panel. I believe that the circumstances and context are slightly different with each one. They do seem to be repeated, but I think, Chair, because if we just look at each one, my preference would be to keep them. I don't think it would make any practical difference to remove them, but they do flow from the actual report and are listed in the report, so it doesn't make any consequential difference if the recommendations are taken in whole, if that makes sense.
Okay.
Is that okay, Chair?
Councillor Morford?
Yeah, I can live with that if that's the best way to do it.
That's great. Any further questions to the Deputy Monitoring Officer? Councillor Dale.
Can I just draw the attention to 6.7 on page 58, which is it was appropriate to keep the existing link between the members' basic scheme and the annual increase to local government staff. And as a personal view, I actually think that that should be retained forevermore, not just for, because actually it gives us...
Councillor Dale, I respect that you're making that point, but this seems to be outwith of questions to the Deputy Monitoring Officer. That seems to be more of a debating point you're starting there. Is it a question to the Deputy Monitoring Officer?
I can ask him if he can recommend that to the panel, that we maintain the index when they look further into the review. If that's the easiest way of putting it into a question to the monitoring officer.
Thank you, Chair. It's not actually within my power to do that, Councillor. The Independent Remuneration Panel makes recommendations to Council, who then will make decisions upon those recommendations, but I can't actually give any advice. That's what the Independent Remuneration Panel is there for.
It could be part of the review that Councillor Dale.
Feeling that Councillor Wearmouth, as the relevant portfolio holder, might wish to expand.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Dale. The process of any of the changes or not to anything in this report, ultimately it flows through the Independent Remuneration Panel. And so when they consult on any change in the future, they'll consult probably with all of you in one way, shape or form, and you can all make your views known then. And I know that the chair's in the room here now, and so he will have heard you. And that's the best guidance I can give.
Councillor Dickinson had a question.
Yes, thank you. One of the recommendations is for a full review to be carried out, and I just wondered if the Deputy Monitoring Officer could give us a timescale on that.
I think, Chair, in time for the next financial year, so early next year, as a long stop, I would suggest.
Councillor Kennedy, your question.
It's a correction to the report. At 4.1, the last word should be corrected. It's just it's got the acronym around the wrong way. Four point one.
You would note that one as well, wouldn't you?
We'll note that, Chair.
Yeah. Okay. Any more questions to the Deputy Monitoring Officer? I cannot see any hands. Might I have a proposer for the report? Councillor Sanderson is proposing that. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Watson. I could have gone Councillor Dickinson, but I've gone Councillor Watson. Any debate on that? Councillor
Just a quick comment, if I may, Chair, just to say that I found that the process with the Independent Remuneration Panel very professional and robust, and I think the members of the new panel have been very challenging in their questions. I think it's always important for members to remember that the Council shouldn't and won't make recommendations to an Independent Remuneration Panel, but if you're interviewed, that's your opportunity to share your view, and I think it's really important that we stipulate that to the public. Thank you.
Thank you. Any more debate? Councillor Wearmouth.
Thank you. I'd just like to agree with Councillor Dickinson. It's always a first for everything, but actually it's not the first. We do agree on quite a lot. Given that the Chair's here, just to say thank you to the panel. I think that they did do a great job. The interviews that I sat in was really robust. Lots of really probing, sensible questions asked, and we thank them very much for their time. It's really appreciated. Thank you.
Okay, it has been proposed and seconded. Are we happy to support that? Agree to that? Agreed. That's noted as agreed. Thank you very much. We have no other items to consider. Thank you for your time.